Al Franken writes reason number 85. He represents Minnesota in the U.S. Senate, and he had an interesting little ditty with a focus on the family folk. They wrote this pamphlet about like traditional families and marriage and stuff like that, and said something like I think it was like a DOMA hearing or something. And what ended up happening was there was a report that one of the focus on the family folks wrote, but Al Franken checked it out, and it did not lead to the same conclusion that they wrote, which is not so surprising because the right wing has never been notable for telling the truth. But that was one thing that I remembered with Senator Al Franken, and I remember also seeing him on Jeopardy, and I think he's in this movie called Stuart Saves His Family, which I actually want to see because I didn't watch the whole thing. Well, anyway, into his reason. Reason number 85 is President Obama is steady at the helm. When it comes to basic philosophy about the federal government's proper role in providing for the general welfare of the American people, there is no question that Obama's views are closer to mine than are Mitt Romney's. And if elections are about choices, then I guess that makes my choice in this election an easy one. But you don't just want a president you agree with on issues we're debating today. You want a president that you can trust to lead on the issues that we can't even anticipate today, the ones that will arise over the next 4 years. And boy, has Barack Obama earned our trust. In February of 2007, when he launched his campaign, nobody imagined that when the next presidential took office, the global financial system would have melted down and our economy would be in free fall. But in January 2009, Obama's first month in office, we lost more than 800,000 jobs. Fortunately, even though we didn't know our next president would have rescued us from the next Great Depression, we picked the right guy for the job. The stimulus bill saved or created more than 3 million jobs, according to the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office, and as you can see from this chart, reversed our slide into depression. 5.2 million jobs were added over the last 31 months, 459,000 manufacturing jobs added since January 2010, and 1+ million jobs saved due to the president's auto rescue program. Jobs data sources from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Don't think for a minute that any president would have done the same. Only 3 Senate Republicans voted for the stimulus. But even in the face of relentless opposition, President Obama calmly helped to avoid economic disaster, doubled our nation's renewable energy, and made unprecedented investments in our education system, infrastructure, and our capacity to innovate. Oh, and he gave Americans the largest middle-class tax cut in a generation. Similarly, when Barack Obama launched his campaign in February 2007, nobody imagined that 4 years later, the president would have to make an incredible, gutsy call when faced with the chance to take out Osama bin Laden. There was no assurance that the al-Qaeda leader was even in that compound in Abbottabad. And the president was presented with several options that were far less risky than the raid, including the option to send in a few bombers to destroy the compound. Well, many of his advisors, including Vice President Joe Biden, preferred that option to the raid, which was the riskiest option, politically speaking. But the president knew that bombing the compound would not give us definitive proof that we killed bin Laden. And because he demonstrated his steel once again, the world knows we got bin Laden, and our Navy SEALs recovered a wealth of information about al-Qaeda's operations. So to me, the election isn't just about the issues on the table now. It's about who we want leading our country through the crises we can't even imagine today, crises that will become real during the president's next term, or near the next presidential term. President Obama hasn't taken my preferred approach on every issue, but he's earned my trust on the ones that matter most, the ones that demand especially strong leadership. And that's why he's earned not just my vote, but my enthusiastic support. Al Franken, St. Paul, Minnesota.